everyone, my name is Hannah. Welcome to a new video. Happy Bookmas Day 7. Today's video is going to be 23 books that I want to read in 2023. So this list is different from my most anticipated releases of 2023. All of those books would have made this list. So I do want to read all of those in 2023, but this is a list for like books that I've had my eye on or they've been on my TBR, like my want to read list for a while. And I'm thinking that 2023 is the year to finally get to them. So these are in no particular order. They're just a list of books that I would really like to try to read next year. And yeah, I've got 23 of them, so let's get right into it. So the first book on this list is Saga Volume 10 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. I love the Saga graphic novel series. I've read all 9 of them, and I've been waiting for a long time for the 10th volume. They went on a bit of a hiatus. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've gotten a new volume, and this came out this year, and I just haven't had the chance to pick it up yet, and I don't think it will fit into my December TBR at all, so I am hoping to pick it up sometime early in 2023. This is a sci-fi graphic novel series, and I'm not a really big like sci-fi girly, but this series is just so good. It's about these two rival alien species that like their worlds are at war, and they end up getting together and having a child together, and they're like kind of a symbol for peace that both worlds don't want to like get out to the public to see we can actually get along. And so they're on the run with this small child, and it's so much more than that, but it's like really good. So I really want to get to the 10th volume. The second book on this list is Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. This is the second book to Legendborn, which I really liked. I got it from Book of the Month a while back, and I did get Bloodmarked as an add-on this month, so I will have the physical copy of it. But it's a King Arthur retelling, and it's got like magic, and it is a YA fantasy, and I tend to like drift away from YA fantasies now, but this one was just so good, so I was really anticipating the sequel Bloodmarked, so I want to pick this one up at some point in 2023 to continue on the series. I'm not sure how many books there will be in this series, but I would just like to pick them up as they come out. Next up is The Winners by Fredrik Backman. So if you don't know, Fredrik Backman is one of my all-time favorite authors. I have read every single thing that he has published and had translated to English, and I've been waiting for The Winners for a while to get translated into English because he is a Swedish author. This is the third book in the Beartown series. So the first book is Beartown, and then the second book is Us Against You. It is very wintry, so I would love to pick this up sometime in the first couple months of the year so that I can have those wintry vibes. It follows this hockey team. So in Beartown, one of the players is accused of raping the coach's daughter, and it like splits this like small town where all they care about is hockey, because this guy is like the star of the hockey team, and they're trying, like, they take sides on like if he should be able to play because their hockey team needs him, or if he should like face justice for what he did. And it's just really good. It's a really good story, but if like SA is a trigger for you, I would steer clear of this one because there's a lot of discussion around it, and also a lot of discussion around victim blaming and like believing the victims and stuff like that. So if that is a touchy subject for you, steer clear of this one. But I am really excited to get to this one because I just love Fredrik Backman's writing, and I want to continue this series. It is his newest release, his newest release that was translated to English, so I want to pick this one up very soon. Next up is A Broken Blade by Melissa Blair. I just know that this is a fantasy. I don't know too much about it. I just know that I've heard good things about it, and I got the audiobook from the ALC program from Libro FM, so I have the audio already, and I really like the cover. But yeah, I'm like starting to be in my fantasy era, so I want to pick this one up. I'm sorry I don't have a really good synopsis for it. I just know that I have heard it, and I've had it on my TBR since I've heard about it because I've heard nothing but good things about it, so I want to give it a shot. Next up, I have Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail by Ashley Herring Blake. This is the second companion book to the Delilah Green Doesn't Care series. I don't know if that has like a series name, but I loved Delilah Green Doesn't Care, and I'm really excited to get to this one. I know it came out, I think, in November, but I just haven't had the chance to get to it yet, and the third book was just announced, and that's one of my most anticipated releases of 2023, so I do want to read this one before that one comes out so that I can pick that one up right when it comes out. So this one is on my list. I just know that it is a queer romance, and I am really excited to read it because I really liked the first one, Delilah Green Doesn't Care. Next up, I do already own this one, so I can hold it up this time instead of just popping the picture up, but that is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. This came out, I think, I want to say in August, but it was like on everybody's wrap-ups for August. Like, everybody was reading it and talking about how good it was. It was sold out everywhere for a while, and I finally got my hands on a copy, and I just haven't picked it up yet. So this is another one. I got the audiobook from the ALC program from Libro FM, and I know the audiobook is narrated by Jeanette McCurdy, and I've heard that the audiobook is really, really good. So I want to follow along as I read this. I haven't had the chance to read it. So I want to get to it in 2023, and hopefully I end up loving it just as much as everybody else does. The next book on this list is Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. So this was a self-published book that was picked up by a traditional publisher, and that was traditionally published, I think, in November. And I have just heard that it is like so beautiful and such a like amazing story, and I really want to get to it. It's one of my like top, it's probably going to be on my January TBR, to be honest, because I want to get to it so badly. I'm hoping that not much was changed and like edited when it got picked up by a traditional publisher, because my friend Rachel read it and she has the self-published copy, and so she said it's just really beautiful and that I'm going to want to annotate it. So I really want to get to this one. So I'm probably going to pick this one up very early on in 2023, probably in January. Next up, I want to pick up A Mirror Mended by Alex E. Harrow. This is a novella that is, I think, part of the Fractured Fables series, but the first one is A Spindle Splintered, and it was a Sleeping Beauty retelling, and it's just like a little short novella, and this one is also a little novella, and it's like a fairy tale retelling. And since I'm watching Once Upon a Time, I've been kind of like vibing fairy tales lately. So I do really want to get to this one, and it'll be super short. It'll be perfect for a 24-hour readathon, but I just haven't had the chance to pick it up yet. So I'm definitely going to read this one whenever I do another 24-hour readathon because it's so short. I also really want to get to The Bride Test by Helen Huang. I've read The Kiss Quotient, and I really, really loved that one. And so I want to pick up the next two books in the series. So The Bride Test and The Heart Principle, I think is what it's called. I've heard The Heart Principle is like way more emotional than people were expecting, but technically both of those are on this list, but I definitely want to continue on because I really liked The Kiss Quotient. It is a romance where it's like a mail order bride kind of thing, like this woman goes and it's like an arranged marriage kind of situation and they end up falling in love. So it sounds really cute, but I want to get to that one for sure next year. The next book I want to try to read next year is The Last Wish. I don't know how to say this author's name. I'm not even going to attempt it. I did just attempt it, and I'm going to edit that out because it was bad. But this is the first book in the Witcher series, and I love the Witcher show. I love it. I've never played the video game, but I do want to try to read the book because I love the show so much. So I want to give it a shot. I'll see if I like it. I really like this cover. I borrowed this from my friend Maggie's husband. He has like, I think he has the whole series, but he's never read them. So he's letting me borrow them because I told him I wanted to read them. So hopefully I end up liking this, but yeah, it's the first book in the Witcher series. I'd also really love to get to Lore Olympus Volume 2 by Rachel Smythe. I really liked the first volume of Lore Olympus. It's a Hades and Persephone retelling, but that volume was very much like a setup to the story, and I just haven't continued on yet. So I really want to get to Volume 2. I think Volume 3 may already be out. So yeah, I just want to continue on that story. Next on the list is Glow by Raven Kennedy. This is book 4 in the Plated Prisoner series. I've had this since June. I have had it since it came out in June, and Rachel and I have said we were going to buddy read this since June, and it's never happened. I think both of us were kind of waiting for the audiobook to get released because I read this whole series while following along with the audiobook, and that's how I want to read this one. But the audiobook didn't come out anytime. Like, it's still not out by the time I'm filming this video. So I'm like, where is it? All the other ones have audiobooks, so where's this one? But yeah, I kind of had hoped that I would get to this before the end of the year, but I just know that that's not going to happen. So I'm going to add it to this list because I know I'm not going to get to this in December, and I definitely want to read it next year, especially because the finale for this series, book 5, I think it's just called Gold, comes out next year, and I do want to read that, so I need to have read this by the time that one comes out. So this is on the list. I'm going to say that I'll get to it next year, but honestly, at this rate, like, who even knows? But I do really want to read this. I also really need to finally read Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I've had this copy since last Christmas. Brandon got it for me. It is the Marjolaine Baston illustrated edition, so it comes with like stuff inserted into the pages. So it's kind of cool. And there's all these like little illustrations of like flowers and birds and stuff. It's really pretty. And I read this edition in Pride and Prejudice while following along with the audiobook, so that's what I'm gonna do for this one, but I just haven't gotten to it, and I've said that I've wanted to read this for literal years, and I've had this for a year, so I need to get to it, and next year is the year that I do it. Next up, I kind of have a little bit of like a twofer, like these ones go together. So I don't have the physical copy of the first book, but I have this book. So it's Hot House Flower by Krista and Becca Ritchie. In order to read this one, I need to read Kiss the Sky as well, but I've heard that I will like these two. I did not like the Addicted series. I DNF'd the first book about 200 pages in, and I thought that they were really annoying, but I've heard that this gets better and that Rachel thinks that this will be like one of my favorite romances. I'm nervous about it. I have to read Kiss the Sky first. I've heard that like you should read the Addicted books before you go into this one, but it's either I just start with Kiss the Sky and just read these two, or I don't read them at all. So like I'm not going to read the Addicted books. It's just not gonna happen. So I'm going to read Kiss the Sky and hopefully Hot House Flower some point next year, and hopefully I like them. I'm nervous, but I really want to give them a try. The next book on the list is All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. I went through a little, like very short phase of reading a bunch of Mariana Zapata books, like From Look Up With Love, The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, Culty. I read all of those and I really like them. They're very slow burn romances, but I really, really enjoyed them. And this one I think is like a single dad romance, and I have the audiobook for it. So I do want to eventually read this one. I've had my eye on it for a little while, and I think next year is the year that I'm finally going to get to it. Next on the list is Wolf Song by TJ Klune. So this book I just know is like a werewolf gay romance. I don't know very much about it at all. I know that I love TJ Klune's writing. I read The House in the Cerulean Sea and Under the Whispering Door, and I'm anticipating his next adult book, something about puppets, In the Lives of Puppets or something like that. But I want to read his backlist, and this series, I've seen people say like it's really, really good, but it's kind of like underhyped. So I want to give it a try, and I'm really excited to get to it. Hopefully I like this one, and I'm just really excited to get to it. The next book on the list is The Witch Collector by Carissa Weeks. This book pops up all the time on like my recommended books, like on Goodreads it'll recommend this one to me, and on Amazon it recommends this one to me all the time, and I have seen like a few TikToks of people like talking about it, and I just want to give it a chance. So I'm adding it to this TBR in hopes that I will read it sometime next year. I think there's 2 books out so far, but I really wanted to try this one. I'm really hoping that it's not like a overhyped one, like people say that it's really, really good and then it ends up being like perfectly average, but I want to give it a chance. So I'm adding it to this list. Again, I don't know a ton about it. I just know that it gets recommended to me based on my reading all the time. So I want to try it. Next on my list is Heartless by Elsie Silver. So this is the second book. I don't even know what you call this series, but it's like the Horse Girl Smut series. I read the first book, Flawless, and this one is a single dad nanny romance. And it's like, you know, the cowboy love interest kind of thing. He's like grumpy and I think she's supposed to be sunshine, but Rachel really, really loved this one. I know I keep bringing up Rachel, but basically if she likes it, then I'm going to try to read it. But yeah, Rachel gave this book 5 stars, I want to say, I think. And she really wants me to get to it, so I will read it sometime next year. I just don't know when, but I do really want to get to it because I did end up enjoying the first one, and I was a little bit surprised by that. I didn't think I would, but I did end up enjoying it. Next up, I want to continue on the Brutal Birthright series by Sophie Lark. I read Brutal Prince, and now I'm going to try to pick up the second one, The Stolen Heir. I believe that's the next one. But I read The Sinner's Duet by Sophie Lark, and I gave both of those really, really high ratings, so I want to try more from Sophie Lark. I'm going to be picking up Anastasia this month, and I just want to try more of her writing, so I'm going to try this one. It's a mafia romance. I don't know much about the like storyline for this one apart from the fact that it's mafia, but I wanted to read more Sophie Lark, so I'm just going to continue on with this series and hope that I really like it. Next on my list is Dear Ava by Ilsa Madden Mills. So this is one I've had my eye on for a little while. I really like bully romances. I don't know what that says about me, but I really like bully romances, and this one keeps popping up as a recommended, so I want to give it a shot. I've seen a lot of like the TikToks where they show you like a line from each of the characters or something, and it's got me hooked. I will say I did fall into that trap for another Ilsa Madden Mills book, The Beauty and the Baller, and I DNF'd that one. I really didn't like it, so I'm hoping that this isn't the same, but I think that the premise sounds really, really good, and again, I like bully romances, so I want to give it a shot. All right, next up, I have the Zodiac Academy book, the new Zodiac Academy book, book 8, which is called Sorrow and Starlight, I think, by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. So if you remember, I read the entire Zodiac Academy series back in April, and it was just like exactly what I wanted at the time. I just ate that series up and became very quickly obsessed with it. This book was supposed to be the finale, and honestly, I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready for this story to kind of wrap up, but they just announced that there's going to be a 9th book, so I'm a little nervous about this one because I don't want the story to feel like it's getting dragged out. I like the world, I like the characters, but I don't want the story to suffer just because they want to add another book. But we shall see. I do want to read this one, but I want to read the Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac series first because I've heard that characters from that series have points of view and play a role in this book. So that leads me to my next book, which is Savage Fae by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. I think that's book 2 in the Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac. I read Dark Fae last month and I liked it, so I want to read that series. There's 5 books in it, so I have 4 more to go. So technically all of those are on this list. But Savage Fae is the next book, I think, and I really want to get to that one because I was enjoying it. It is a reverse harem, which is my first reverse harem. So far, book 1 was pretty tame because nothing really happened, but I know as the series goes, things will get a lot spicier. So again, I want to read the Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac first because some of those characters will have points of view in the Zodiac Academy 8 book. And then last on this list is The Blood is Love by Karina Hale. This is the second book to Black Sunshine, which is just a vampire fantasy romance. And I read that one really quickly. I did really like it, and so I want to finish out that duet. I know that there's a lot of like spin-off books, and I've seen some things that I'm like, I don't know if that would be for me, but I did really like Black Sunshine, so I want to read The Blood is Love at some point next year. So there you have it. Those are the 23 books that I for sure want to get to in 2023. I really hope that I can get to all of these next year. I'm probably going to do like a mid-year check-in and see where I'm at with those because I feel like if I read about 2 a month, then I should be set. I don't know. I'm going to try to get to all of these next year. I have high hopes for all of them. I have some 5-star predictions on this list. So hopefully I can get to all of these next year. If you made it to the end of this video, leave the book stack emoji to let me know that you made it to the end. And let me know what book is like your #1 book that you want to get to next year. That's not an anticipated release. It's just one that you've been wanting to get to for a while. I don't know what mine is. If I had to pick a #1 book, probably Alone with You in the Ether is probably my #1 on this list. But yeah, don't forget to click like if you liked the video and subscribe so you never miss any bookish content from me. I'm in the middle of my Bookmas videos, so all of my end of the year content stuff, so you don't want to miss out on any of those. So make sure you click subscribe, and thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in my next video for Bookmas Day 8. Bye!